Alrighty, so it's time for me to do one of the longest review of the season and the most game I will review this season, where I'm going to be talking about the 12 games that happened yesterday. And also, I was actually thinking about splitting this review into two-part yesterday, but since yesterday I did a little bit of a ground hop and I didn't get home until 10:30 p.m. my time, and basically when I did get home I still had to watch the last couple of games that I wasn't able to watch because I was doing the ground hop. And since I think by then it was around midnight when I was able to finish that, I just feel like, I'm not going to do a review at midnight, even though if I'm just going to look at the first 6 games as part 1 of the review. So, hence, that's why we have a long review here. And this is also going to be a relatively busy day for me, too, because after this long review, I also have to do the news of the week video, because yesterday I wasn't able to do my news of the week video since there was the 12 games that happened and also the ground hop that I did last night. But anyhow, let's take a look in terms of some of these games. And when I look at this midweek action, boy oh boy, we definitely had some games that was very crazy. And once again, we had games where there were tons of late goals, and it seems like the last 15 minutes in some of these games tends to be the most chaotic type we have ever seen this season, and of course we'll get to those one. But the first game that we're going to talk about is going to be the New England Revolution taking on the New York Red Bulls. So for the Revs, this was a relatively comfortable game, at least for the first 50 minutes of it, and then it wasn't. It did get a little bit hairy at the end of this game, but they were able to still hang on to get a 3-2 victory and get all 3 points, and also extend their lead at the top of the Eastern Conference. In the 5th minute, Cornell did deny Bo after a WTF from the Red Bulls, and then Turner did tip over Amaya's shot before Yearwood did try to do a curler that, that went in. That would have definitely been contention for goal of the week, but it struck the post. And I thought the Red Bulls actually play well in the first 15 minutes of the game, and they were doing their usual press against this Revs team. And this Revs team, they looked like they were really struggling in terms of trying to deal with the Red Bulls press. But despite the fact that the Red Bulls were playing well, it was New England, the one that gets the opening goal. And I think you could say that this is the second game in a row where they kind of got the opening goal against the run of plays. This time it's Tajon Buchanan that scored from Carlos Hill, and also right around the same time that they score that against the run of play goal in the game, in the last game that they had in the 27th minute to give them a 1-0 lead. And then 5 minutes later, they would double that lead. It's DeJuan Jones that scored from Carlos Hill and Matt Polster. I mean, Carlos Hill was just putting on a show tonight. Like, you talk about a guy that is the reason why he is considered one of the best number 10 in the league, and he is just such a magician in terms of pulling the string. This game basically explains that. I mean, he was just masterful in some of his passes and some of his creativity in this game. And because of that, his team were able to find themselves 2-0 up inside 32 minutes into the game. And it could have been 3-0 just 5 minutes later, but Cornell was able to deny Bunbury, and we had to halftime with New England up 2-0 against the Red Bulls. Now in the second half, the Red Bulls, they started to go on the front foot early, but just like in the first half where it seemed like the Red Bulls were the better team, New England immediately snatched that momentum back toward them with a goal. And this time it's Gustavo Bo that scores to make it 3-0 in favor of New England. It was a lightning counterattack. And, one thing the Red Bulls really struggled in this game was dealing the transition that the Reds were putting on them. And this was one of the goal that they, of course, get up because they got caught at the back. And that obviously would happen when you decide to press hot up the pitch and basically let yourself exposed at the back, and New England definitely took advantage of it. But just 3 minutes later, the Red Bulls did get one back, and it's Patrick Camella, who I think he's been very unlucky during his time with the Red Bulls, because he's been trying very hard to score that first goal. Well, he finally does get his first goal here as he scored from Fabio and Tokens to make it 3-1 in favor of New England. The game started to become end-to-end. Turner did deny Kamala his chance for his second MLS goal in the 72nd minute. Before, just 2 minutes later, Reyes would make it 3-2 in favor of New England, and that was a great goal that Reyes basically scored from outside the box. But, all of a sudden, it's a one-goal game, and as I said, the refs, they were comfortable throughout this game, and now with 15 minutes left, and the fact that this is a one-goal game, there's definitely some concern. If you are a Refs fan seeing this, and especially the crowd there at Gillette Stadium, which, it wasn't really a big crowd there for this game, but it's understandable because it's a midweek game, and usually midweek home game that takes place in Gillette Stadium doesn't usually draw a big crowd, but there was some nervousness that was going on. Now, Buxa did try to calm their nervousness when he tried to steer a header, but unfortunately it goes wide before Fabio tried to curl one in, trying to complete the miraculous comeback, but unfortunately he puts that one wide, and despite the fact that the Red Bulls try their best to get that equalizer, they weren't able to do it, and New England, in the end, were able to hold on to win 3-2 in this one. Shots in this one, 10 shots compared to 21 that the Red Bulls had. Both teams had 6 shots on goal, 2 shots off target for the 11 that the Red Bulls had, 2 shots that was blocked for the 4 that the Red Bulls had, and possession-wise, 50% possession that both of these teams has, and, in the end, New England, this wasn't really a perfect game for them, and their defense definitely was a little bit vulnerable in this one, but at the end of the day, it's another 3 points for them. And for the Red Bulls, I don't think this was a bad road game for Gerhard Stuber. In fact, I think this might be one of their best road games that they have this season, but when you find yourself 3-0 down at one point, it's always going to be impossible to try to come back and to get a point out of this game. And even though they almost did in this one, they just fall a little bit short after this game. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is NYCFC and Atlanta. And, this, when I saw how this game kind of went, it always felt like this game either was going to end 0-0 or it's going to be a 1-0 result, because I thought throughout this game there wasn't really a lot of chance for both of these teams, and you can see both of these teams were kind of really struggling in terms of their build-up throughout this game. But that wasn't the case, at least early on, for NYCFC, as they immediately pressed to try to get the opening goal early on. Guzan was able to deny Medina as he went through on goal. There was a shout for a penalty for NYCFC that was ignored. NYCFC, as I mentioned, they were on the front foot early in this game, but, after the 15-minute mark, Atlanta started to kind of get back into this one. Sean Johnson did deny Bello. As I mentioned, Atlanta started to get into this game before Marini hits one straight to Sean Johnson not long after, and we head to halftime with both of these teams tied up at 0-0. So we go to the second half, and in the 55th minute, it looked like that we could have a big moment when there could have been a possible red card on Eric Lopez on Atlanta United after he put a crunching challenge on Jason. But when you look on the replay, I know on the replay it definitely looked like it starts up and it looks like it's an ugly challenge, but there's a reason why commentators always said that, when you see something on the replay and see an egregious challenge, it always looks worse on the replay than it is actually in real time. And I thought that one, it was maybe kind of an orange card, I would say, but in the end, VAR decided that it was not worthy of a red card, and Lopez only escaped with a yellow card in that one. But 11 minutes later, Sean Johnson would deny Barco on the free kick, as that was really one of the rare chances that we saw in the second half, because again, neither team really did much in the final third, and I even kind of wrote that the game was kind of become stalemate. But just as I wrote that, a minute later, we get ourselves the opening goal, and it's Tajuri Shradi that scored from Castellanos and Parks to give NYCFC a 1-0 lead. Castellanos did try to make it 2-0, and he actually had a good chance to do so, but unfortunately, while the ball was coming in and he was trying his best to stretch out as tight as possible to kind of poke that one in, he unfortunately found the post when he tried to poke that one in, and the game remains at 1-0. But even then, after when NYCFC scored that opening goal, you can definitely see the heads was dropping for Atlanta. Like, you can definitely see that even at 1-0, they knew that they were probably not going to get anything out of this game, because, as I said, I just feel like this was going to be one of those games where it's going to be a low-scoring game, and whoever is going to score that opening goal most likely is going to win the game. And that, of course, was the case in this one, as NYCFC would win 1-0 in this one, and the shots in this game, 18 shots compared to the 6 that Atlanta has, 7 shots on goal compared to the 3 that Atlanta has, 5 shots off target compared to the 2 that Atlanta has, 6 shots that was blocked compared to the 1 that Atlanta has, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that NYCFC had in this game. And also, with this loss, I believe Atlanta has now dropped below the red line, and yeah, there's, I know I've said before that things are probably going to start off slow for Atlanta because it's going to take a lot of time for all of these players that they sign in the offseason to kind of start gelling. And also, not to mention, they don't have Joseph Martinez in this game or in the last game too. And it seems like if Atlanta does not have Joseph Martinez, it does make it almost impossible for them to operate going forward on the attack. But at the same time, as much as I kind of said this, we are now 10 weeks into the MLS season and already past the 1/4 mark of this MLS season. And, if this is going to continue for Atlanta, and we continue to see these kind of results where, I kind of don't see a lot of progress that they've been making going forward, and that it just feels like this squad that they have, it still has not really gelled as much as I was hoping they would by now. And, if they continue to kind of put up performance like this, then there's definitely going to be some real question that's going to be asked. And, I don't want to say Gabriel Heinze is going to be under pressure, but at the same time, it seems like he could be under pressure because I did mention in the beginning of the year, this is an Atlanta team, and especially their fan base. They do not accept failures, and they do not accept just futility. And, they already gone through a futility kind of period last season with them missing out the playoffs. And, with the way that they start this season, it seems like it could be happening again for the second year in a row. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be the rematch of the Super Cup that we saw earlier this season between the Union versus Columbus. And, I don't know if it's actually called a Super Cup, even though this is kind of the defending Supporters Shield champion versus the defending MLS Cup champion, because if you want a Super Cup, it should be the defending MLS Cup champion against the US Open Cup champion. But since last year there was no US Open Cup, maybe this would be appropriate to say that this is a rematch of the Super Cup match that we saw in the first game of the season. And in this game, I thought this was very similar to the first game of the season, and it just feels like this is kind of also a game that kind of feels like a playoff game, with the way that it was a very tight game, and it just seems like one goal was probably going to be enough for both of these teams to get the victory. And in the end, it's the Union, the one that did get that opening goal, and they actually got it in the first half, and they were able to hold on for the rest of the game to get a 1-0 result. But, in the first half, not much happening in the first 15 minutes besides a couple of half chances for both of these teams. Montreal did hit one over from close range in the 21st minute, as I thought that was probably the best chance we had up to that point. But he would actually get on the score sheet just 4 minutes later to give the Union a 1-0 lead, and then Burke just 7 minutes later went through on goal, but unfortunately he hits the side netting. And I thought the Union was doing well in terms of pressing high, and they were kind of really suffocating Columbus in terms of not letting them get out of their own half. And because of that, they definitely, I feel like were the more dominant force in the first half, and they had another chance to make it 2-0 just a couple of minutes after I wrote that, after Leon Flock's header was clear off the line. Now, this one, I don't think his header was intended to go toward goal. I think he was trying to feed this one right to Shabilko, who would just tapped it into the empty net, but unfortunately that one was just clear off the line in time, and Columbus just did it enough to do an emergency defending before that ball actually ends up in the hands of Shabilko. But we head to halftime with the Union up 1-0 in this game. And the second half, the game continued to be very tight and physical, and it just feels like there's a real battle that is going on in the midfield between the Union and the Crew, and it seems like nobody was really winning that midfield battle. But then in the 72nd minute, we had a big moment in the game where Matthew Real was sent off for a sliding tackle on one of the Columbus players. I forgot who exactly it was, but they did go to VAR to see whether or not if that is worthy of a straight red, and on the replay, I think it was the right call for them to reduce to a yellow card, because not only the fact that Real actually got the ball, but it was pretty clear that there was no stop. He did not put a studs up challenge on that, and I would even argue that that probably shouldn't have been a yellow card. I thought that was kind of a clean challenge, but either way, anytime when they do go to VAR to see if they want to overturn a red card, in the end, most of the time, the referee will still have to give a yellow card to a player, even though when you look on the replay, it definitely not only does not look like a red card, but definitely didn't look like a foul to me in my book, and it feels like it was just one of those rough challenge that Matthew Real was able to get that one right. Now, in the 79th minute, there was definitely some concern in the Union fan base when they saw Bedoya kind of limped off when he was substituted, and he kind of did have to get helped off while he was being substituted in this game. Hopefully he's not going to be injured for a bit, because he is a very big part to this Union team in terms of the leadership that he gives to this Union team. But then in the 82nd minute, probably Columbus' best chance of the game happened when Marlon Hairston tried to hit one from close range, but Andre Blake, who didn't really have much to do in this game, was able to deny him from close range. Columbus did try to push for an equalizer late in this game, but in the end, the Union was able to hold on to get the 1-0 victory. And the shots in this game, 5 shots compared to 8 that Columbus had, 1 shot on goal compared to 2 that Columbus had, 2 shots off target compared to 3 that Columbus had. Both teams had 2 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 39% possession compared to 61% possession that Columbus had. And when you look at the stats, it pretty much just explained why this game was a relatively tight game, and there wasn't really a lot of chances, but in the end, the Union was able to be the one, despite the fact they only put 1 shot on goal in this game. That 1 shot on goal actually went into the back of the net, and they were able to get all 3 points in this one. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, and I'm sorry to get to the board where I do apologize if you actually can't see the lettering for this, because when I did the blue marker on this, when I basically about to record this video, I realized that the blue marker that you see here, it's not really showed up very well, and unfortunately I didn't want to just kind of erase the whole thing, because it does take a long time for me to not only prepare to do this video, but also put all the notes here on the board and basically they start recording after I do so, and yeah, that's why I decided to kind of keep it like this. And also I'll pretty much read what is on here on the board, so it's not like you're gonna miss any important kind of notes here on the board, despite the fact that you guys probably aren't able to see it very clearly. But the next game we're going to talk about is none other than the Wooden Spoon Derby, and honestly, for a Wooden Spoon Derby, this probably was one of the best Wooden Spoon Derby I have ever seen, because you want to see why exactly both of these teams are the 2 worst teams in the league. This game pretty much explains it. And, even though in the end FC Cincinnati got the 1-0 victory, I don't think neither of these teams are going to be happy coming out of this game, and especially with the way that there clearly should have been more goals that scored in this game. And really, the only reason that there wasn't more goals that's been scored in this game is because, not only the fact that both goalkeeper was playing very well in this game, but there was some of the most shocking miss I've seen in this game. And we also will talk about at the last minute of this game, there was definitely some controversy that happened after as this Wooden Spoon Derby was about to be finished. Now, in the first half, for a Wooden Spoon Derby, you want to know why I was so looking forward to this game and why this was a special occasion. Well, one of the reasons is because Arlo White was calling this game, and honestly, I know the Fire basically announced last year that Arlo White was gonna be commentating some of their game, and I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't going to be the case last year, but the fact that it finally has happened, and it's been something I've been waiting for almost a year and a half. I mean, no offense to Tyler Terrence, who is usually the play-by-play commentator for the Chicago Fire. I don't think he's bad, but he's not Arlo White. I mean, Arlo White is one of my favorite, if not my favorite commentator of all time, and it's just so great to hear his voice, and just so great for him to basically, in his first ever MLS game that he called since 2012, is going to be the Wooden Spoon Derby between the Chicago Fire and FC Cincinnati. Now, in the 4th minute, Shuttleworth was able to deny Brenier before Shuttleworth denied Cameron, who had a free header but somehow wasn't able to score on that. Well, it's mainly because Shuttleworth made a great save on that. And then Shuttleworth was able to deny Joe Gio just not long after that. And I already wrote, Cincinnati always felt like this is just one of those days. And you know, in the last game when they play against Colorado, how no matter what they were going to do going forward in front of goal, and no matter what kind of chances that they do going forward on the goal, they just ran into a goalkeeper that just decided to stood on his heads and just save everything. And it seems like if you're a Cincinnati fans, you're thinking, oh my god, here we go again. This is like the last game when William Yarbrough was just saying no to us in terms of not allowing any goal. And it seemed like this is the same case with Bobby Shuttleworth, that he's just not allowing a goal for Cincinnati in this one. And in the 18th minute, he would continue his impressive performance as he robbed Monterita, who was going through on goal, and then he would actually tip over a Lucho Acosta long-range effort over in the 19th minute. And then in the 26th minute, after the Fire was just completely dominated in the first half, they finally started to woke up when Stojanovic did try a free kick from 26 yards out, but it goes wide. But then just 16 minutes later, Shuttleworth was able to deny Brenier. And I'll tell you what, you know how Jurgen Locadia, he is not going to be staying with this FC Cincinnati team because they didn't exercise his purchase option. And I always talk about how Jurgen Locadia is probably the most cursed striker right now in the league. Well, it seems like that cursed striker role is now passed on to Brenier, because you know how Brenier, when he scored that opening goal in the game against Nashville SC, yeah, that was the last time that he has score a goal. And you just wonder, is this one, like, it feels like it's not just a curse of Jurgen Locadia, but more like it's a curse of the number 9 position for this FC Cincinnati team, and that whoever wears the number 9 shirt for this FC Cincinnati team, or whoever plays that spot, most likely is going to be snake bit and just not allowed to score a goal for their team whatsoever. And it seems like Brenier is clearly suffering from that kind of curse right now. Now, in the second half, FC Cincinnati finally got the goal that they deserve, and it actually took a spectacular goal for them to get the opening goal, as Barrio on the free kick able to curl that one. And the curl that he got, man, that was just absolutely amazing, that he just bends that one into the near post and gave Shuttleworth no chance to save that one, and finally give Cincinnati a long-deserved 1-0 lead. But then in the 59th minute, Stojanovic's shot was blocked by his own teammate, that is Beric. And also this was a time when Chicago were really started to try to immediately get the equalizer. In this moment, when Stojanovic's shot was blocked by his own teammate Beric, this is just kind of a sign that, yeah, this is the Wooden Spoon Derby, and this is just one of those games where it just seems like we have some of the most ridiculous thing that we see in this game, and it kind of explains why both of these teams are near the bottom, or not near the bottom, but actually are at the bottom of the Eastern Conference right now. And then just 5 minutes later, Beric probably had one of the worst miss of the season. And you talk about how I said Jurgen Locadia is probably the most cursed striker in the league. Well, it seemed like Robert Beric wanted to have something to say about that, because this, I mean, I don't know how in the world he missed that one. Like, the ball was coming in. All he had to do was basically get any contact and tap that one in. And I don't know if he just kind of got caught into two minds or something, but he just didn't make any contact whatsoever. Well, he did make some contact, but it was a very weak contact that Vermeer was able to save that one. And honestly, again, that was probably one of the worst miss I've seen. And, you know, if it wasn't for Kyoto, who I feel like that Kyoto miss in the game against Cincinnati earlier this season will still go down as the worst miss of this year. But if it wasn't for that one, I think this one would have probably be the worst miss of the season so far. And it also can explain why Robert Beric, you know, I talked about how when he first comes to the Fire, he started to kind of suffer for a curse of not able to score a goal, and it seems like that is now the same case once again. And I also kind of wrote, is this just one of those days for the Fire where there's just not going to be able to put the ball in the back of net? It's also the Fire turn to basically now asking that question. Now, Madron then had a long-range effort that goes wide in the 70th minute, and then Beric goes through on goal but could not put it away, because remember, Beric is snake bit right now. And speaking of snake bit striker, Locadia hits the post as he's trying to steer one into the empty net because, again, he's not allowed to score a goal because he's cursed right now and not and are unable to score a goal. But then just 9 minutes later, Vasquez did try to go through on goal, and I mean, I know he was trying to maybe chip that one over Shuttleworth heads and basically trying to do so to pretty much end this game, but he just got that one completely wrong. Like, I don't know if he was being a little bit too casual when he tried to chip that one, but he basically just chipped it right into the hand of Shuttleworth. And, you know, again, this just kind of explained how this game was just a game of not only missed chances, but some of the worst miss I've seen so far this season. And then in the 92nd minute, this is where the controversy of this game happened. Beric, of course, thought that he finally got that curse out of his way and finally scored the goal that the Fire has been looking for throughout the entire game. But the goal, of course, was disallowed for offside. Now, I look on the replay a couple of times, and I'll tell you what, I still don't know how is that actually going to be called back for offside. Because when you look on the replay, I just didn't see any definitive angle that is a clear and obvious kind of evidence of why exactly that goal should be disallowed for offside and that Beric is in an offside position. And even Arnold White basically said it on the broadcast, like, how can you tell from this angle that this goal should be disallowed? And we'll also talk about a little bit later in this video where we also had something similar to this, and the goal, of course, what was given and was actually overturned that call. So in many ways, I think the Fire got robbed in terms of this call, and I know Fire fans will be very angry about this call and how that was really the reason why they lost this one. But really, at the end of the day, the reason why they lost this game was because they weren't being very clinical. And I also would say that you know, after this game, you know, even though FC Cincinnati does get the 1-0 win, it just feels like everybody lost in this game with some of the worst soccer and some of the worst miss I've seen in this game. But overall, if you look into the record books, FC Cincinnati will still get the resort and win this wooden spoon derby. And the shots in this one, both teams had 19 shots in this game, 12 shots on goal compared to 2 that the Chicago Fire has in this game. 5 shots off target compared to 9 that Chicago has. 8 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that Chicago or FC Cincinnati has. And possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that FC Cincinnati has in this game. And again, overall, this just was an absolute insane game, but not in the way that you hope that an MLS game basically would go. But I think in some way this is just appropriate of how a wooden spoon derby would end, where, you know, it might be a low scoring game at the end, but you also have just tons of missed chances and some of the most bizarre thing we ever see in an MLS game that happened in a wooden spoon derby. But that being said, now moving away after talking about that crazy wooden spoon derby game, to talk about Minnesota taking on Austin FC. And for Minnesota, it seems like Allianz Field is back being the fortress for the Loons, because this is now 3 straight win for the Loons at Allianz Field. And by the way, this was also the first game that Minnesota played in full capacity at Allianz Field. And honestly, when I watched this game, I really wish I was there for this game, because Allianz Field was absolutely rocking in this game, and probably one of the loudest atmosphere I've heard this season. And also kind of another reason why it just makes me want to go to Allianz Field as soon as possible. And this is not official yet, but I'm already planning to try to go to Allianz Field, and that it's going to be my 3rd attempt to try to go to Allianz Field without any problem whatsoever, and see them take on the LA Galaxy, I believe, in September 18. And again, it's not official yet, but that is a plan that I'm going to do, and finally get a chance to visit that beautiful full stadium in St. Paul. But early on in this game, Minnesota did not waste any time to get the opening goal. So one of the things that kind of frustrates me about the Loons in these last couple of games is that they take forever to eventually get the opening goal. But this time they didn't. It only took them 10 minutes, and it's Frankopani who scored on his debut in the last game, would score his first goal at Allianz Field, as he scored from Metenier and Dotson to make it 1-0 in favor of Minnesota. But Austin almost equalized immediately, but Tyler Miller was able to deny Pochettino. And as I said, Austin was looking to try to quickly immediately respond. But then just 5 minutes later, the Loons would double their lead as Adrian Hunou would score his first goal in MLS from Fragapane, and I was so happy that Adrian Hunou finally got his goal, because I thought in the last game he was very unlucky to not get a goal. And for a striker, after that tough game that he has, where it just seems like the goalkeeper basically robbed him a couple of big opportunity, it was very important for him to get on the score sheet, and I was very happy to see him getting on the score sheet. And also at that point the game was 2-0 in favor of Minnesota. And I also wrote Allianz was bouncing. In the beginning it was already loud, but after those 2 goals that was scored to make it 2-0 in favor of Minnesota, the place literally just it feels like it was bouncing, and it was just absolutely electric right now. Then in the 23rd minute, almost like the roof really was blown open. Well, actually, there was no roof at Allianz Field, but you get what I'm trying to say. When Dotson tried to score his trademark banger, but unfortunately it missed high. And the Loons, they were all over Verde early in this game. But despite that, Austin, despite they were second best for the first 30 minutes, they did have a couple of chances. First, Fagundes tried to go for a long-range effort, but Tyler Miller was able to deny him. And I also kind of wrote, the Loons, they got to be careful not to really let Austin back into this game and not let Austin get a goal to really get the momentum toward them, because I've seen this before with Minnesota, where even though they're 2-0 up and everything looks comfortable and all rosy, as soon as they gave up that goal to the opposition, things definitely does not all look all rosy whatsoever. But just after I wrote that, Fragapane thought that he, of course, scored the second goal and make it 3-0 in favor of Minnesota, but unfortunately the goal was disallowed for offside, and yeah, rightfully so. I mean, Fragapane was at least 2 or 3 yards offside on the replay there. Then Nico Hansen tried to curl one in, but he puts it over the bar. And then there was some confusion on the Minnesota bench, as they were about to sub off Reynoso, and I don't know exactly why they decided to do that, because it didn't look like Reynoso was suffering from an injury. And Reynoso probably is even saying the same thing, like, why am I coming off? I'm not suffering an injury. And then immediately, I think Adrian, he basically told the fourth official, and like, no, we're not substituting Reynoso. So in the end, after that kind of confusion, Reynoso was able to remain for the rest of the game. But that was kind of weird to see, and that's just one of the things that I don't see happen very often. Although we did saw that kind of happen earlier this season in that LAFC versus Austin game, where remember how Bob Bradley accidentally subbed off Vela out of that game. Now the difference is Vela was actually injured during that game, and Reynoso wasn't in this instant. But it doesn't happen very often where there might be some confusion on in terms of the substitute, and coaches might have made a substitution that they didn't actually meant to do that. But fortunately, in this instant, it didn't really cost Minnesota, and that Reynoso actually continued to play for the rest of this game. Now, we head to halftime with the Loons up 2-0 against Verde, and in the second half, the post denied Fragapane his second goal and denied Minnesota a chance to make it 3-0 before Reynoso did try to curl one, but it unfortunately missed wide. I thought Reynoso played much better in this game, and although his finishing is still not up to his point, I thought he definitely played much better compared to the last game that he came off the bench against Dallas. But the Loons were really pressing for the third goal. Stuvert was able to rob Henson in the 57th minute. I mean, Stuvert, he didn't... I wouldn't say he had a bad game in this one, because some of the goals that he conceded, I didn't think those one were really on him. But, he definitely looked human in this one, comparing the last game that he played against the Quakes. Before, in the 59th minute, Austin actually almost had a chance to get a goal back, and this actually wasn't because of one of their player was able to score, but more like Minnesota almost scored an own goal, and it was Debasi, the one that actually almost scored an own goal, but fortunately the post, of course, was able to save him. So early on, Minnesota got unlucky with the post. Now they, of course, got a break from the post, so I guess, in other words, the post given, the post taken. But for the rest of the game, I thought Minnesota started to go into a game management mode, and they kind of just shut down shop and just hold on to this 2-0 nothing lead, which, you know, I wasn't really that happy at the fact that they decided to do so, because, you know, if you let a goal back for Austin, then all of a sudden it set up a frantic last 20 minutes of this game. But in the end, it did work out for Adrian Heath, and the Loons were able to win 2-0 in this one. And the shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 11 that Austin has, 3 shots on goal compared to 4 that Verde has, 6 shots off target compared to 3 that Austin has, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that Verde has, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that Austin FC had in this game. And, you know, with this win, Minnesota is now up to 9th in the Western Conference. And again, it's still nowhere near. I was hoping this team would be up to this part of the season, but, you know, after starting 0-4 in the season and trying to now dig themselves out of that deep hole, they're starting to do that. And, you know, as long as if they can continue to win games and also get points on the road, they can definitely find themselves getting themselves back above the red line. In fact, I think they're only 1 point up below the red line right now. So if they can get a win against Portland on the road in the next game, and depending on the team above them aren't able to get a result, they can definitely find themselves above the red line for the first time this season. But for Austin FC, yeah, they're now stuck below the red line, and it's pretty clear that this was probably the worst game, or one of the worst game that Austin FC has played. And really, when they find themselves 2-0 down, I knew Austin was in deep trouble, because this is not a team that is known to come back for a deficit, and a team that also have not known to score a lot of goals. And that's just something that I think Joshua's got to figure it out, where, you know, this team, if you're unable to score goals and unable to do so, you are probably not going to win a lot of games in this league. But now moving on, in terms of the last game on this board, is a 0-0 draw between Montreal and DC United that probably shouldn't have ended 0-0. And in many ways, for DC United, this should have been a win for them. But unfortunately, you know, it seems like the problem that they had earlier this season, which is putting the ball into the back of the net and show their clinical finishing, is once again lacking in this one. Now, in the first half, early on in the first 15 minutes, there wasn't really a lot of chances. In fact, the first chance came in the 14th minute when Diop actually denied Perez, who went through on goal. And then 3 minutes later, he did again. Diop denying Perez again, this time from long range. Gresso did try to put a 30-yard free kick toward goal, but unfortunately he put that one high. But you can definitely see in the first 20 minutes, DC was pressing for the opener, and they were actually out shooting Montreal 7-0 in the first 20 minutes of the game. And then Gresso did have another chance from long range in the 43rd minute, but unfortunately he puts that one high. Right before halftime, Brisson would get his second yellow card, and apparently he got his second yellow card because of a handball that he committed. And, you know, I thought that was kind of harsh, the fact that he got a second yellow because of that. And unless maybe he might have had some egregious foul before and he kind of got told a warning that, you know, this is your last warning before you are indeed going to get a second yellow card. I rarely see how a player that is on a yellow card, and, you know, unless if he egregiously handballed that one, which I think in this instant, I don't think Brisson actually did that, then yeah, I don't think this should have been a second yellow card. But nevertheless, Montreal was down to 10 men for the rest of the game, and we do head to halftime scoreless between both of the teams. But you knew heading into the second half, yeah, DC who already looked very dangerous throughout this game and looking to get that opening goal. It seems like it's inevitable that they are going to get the opening goal, right? Well, in the second half, Montreal, as I expected, they were just sitting in the low block, and they were just parking the bus and hoping they can escape with a 0-0 draw while DC had all the possession. Diop robbed Ariola from close range. By the way, Diop was one of, if not maybe one of the biggest reason why DC United wasn't able to get all 3 points in this game, because he was sensational in this game, and he's started to really become probably one of the most underrated goalkeeper in the league. Because I know we talk about a lot of good goalkeepers in the league, like Brad Stuver, Jonathan Bond, Matt Turner, even Andre Blake, but not a lot of people would realize that Clement Diop is starting to become become one of the best goalkeeper in the league, or at least one of the best shot stopper in the league. And it just seems like in this game, he definitely have showed that characteristic throughout this one. Now, just 10 minutes later, Mihailovic actually had a rare chance for Montreal, but unfortunately his shot just went wide. There was a shout for a handball for DC, but it was a no in terms of that. And then Diop would rob Canals in the 85th minute, and at that point I just kind of started to wrote, yeah, this just feels like it's just one of those days for DC United, isn't it, where they just aren't able to put the ball into the back of the net, and Diop was just reluctant to give a goal for DC United in this give up a goal to DC United in this game. Now, Jordi Reyna did have a chance in the 86th minute, but he puts that one high from close range before Nyman hit the post on the header in the first minute of stoppage time, and that was really the last chance that DC had to maybe get a late winner in this game, as in the end, it ends scoreless between Montreal and DC United, and the shots in this one, 27 shots compared to 4 that Montreal has, 5 shots on goal compared to 1 that Montreal has, 13 shots off target compared to 2 that Montreal has, 9 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that Montreal has, and possession-wise, 46% possession compared to 54% possession that DC United has. And, you know, that stat pretty much just tells the story of how this has to be an infuriating draw for DC United, where they were all over Montreal throughout this game, but they just weren't able to be clinical in terms of the finishing. And also Diop was just having one of those games where he was not allowing anything to go past his net. And that's why in the end, it ends in a 0-0 draw between both of these teams. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 6 games that happened in terms of the Wednesday night action. So, speaking of team that probably should have got all 3 points after the end of the night, is the Houston Dynamo, who they definitely felt like they should have got all 3 points against the Timbers in this game. And especially, they got off to such a good start in this game, up 2-0 in this one, and then they kind of lost it in the second half. In the first half and 15 minutes in, Houston, of course, got the opening goal, and I actually wrote Figueroa or Pico that was the one that got the goal, and I think on the league website they credit Pico as the one that got the goal, but I mean, when you look on the replay, it seems like both Figueroa and Pico was going for the same ball, and I think both of them actually hit that one on the header, and it's like, well, I don't know if it's actually Fafa Pico that actually gets this one, because, you know, when you have both of these guys that kind of gotta go, I mean, I guess maybe the league could kind of credit both of them getting a goal here, but that being said, if they do that, then it would kind of be very confusing, where, you know, the Dynamo only score 1 goal in this, but you're crediting 2 players on that, and you can't basically credit them like half of goal, because that will just kind of sounds weird, the fact that you know, if I do a stats kind of video and look at the Houston Dynamo, I can't just say, well, why did I put 2.5 goal for Fafa Pico, or 1.5 goal for Minor Figueroa, because of that kind of confusing instant. But nevertheless, the Dynamo were up 1-0 at that point, and then they almost made it 2-0 when Urruti tried to do a worldie and trying to score probably the goal of the week, when he tried to hit that one on the volley from long range but missed high. But I thought the Dynamo definitely started out the better team. Figueroa then hits the post on the hit header before the Dynamo would get that second goal, and it's Tyler Pasher, who came back from injury, was able to score from Vera to make it 2-0 in favor of the Dynamo. But in the 41st minute, Williamson would whack the post for the Timbers, and that shot actually was the turning point of this game, because I think after that opportunity, this is when the Timbers really woke up, and near the end of the half, they were really pushing to try to get the equalizer. Marich was able to deny Asprilla in the 2nd minute of stoppage time before, on the very next sequence, Tuluma unfortunately hits it high on a header, and we head to halftime with the Dynamo leading 2-0. But in the second half, the Timbers continued that press for them to try to get themselves one back. And I know I said earlier they were looking to get an equalizer. What I mean is they try to get themselves one back to get them back into this game, and they would do so. In the 49th minute, it's Asprilla that scored from Bravo, and, you know, Darren Asprilla, I mentioned before how he is not allowed to score a goal unless it's October. Well, I think that narrative unfortunately has started to die out, because, you know, Darren Asprilla, he's been having an incredible start to the season. I mean, he's already got 3 goals so far this season, almost 1/3 of the amount of goals that he have scored for the Timbers throughout his MLS career. So yeah, he's definitely enjoying himself early, and it's good to see him to do so, because he's been given an opportunity because of the injuries, and also the international duty on problem with a lot of these forwards for this Timbers team not available, and Asprilla has really stepped up to be able to score the goals for this Timbers side. Now, in the 59th minute, Ivicic did deny Urruti and then on the follow-up, there was kind of a huge shout for a penalty after Ivicic brought down Vera in this game. By the way, the Timbers actually decided to go with a reserve team, and this kind of feel like it was just one of those games where Giovanni Savarese feel like this is just a throwaway game, and that they just need to worry about their next one against Minnesota on Saturday, and that's why they kind of really just gone with a reserve team and only started to bring in the cavalry in the second half and bring some of his best player like Valeri and Ibovasi in the second half. But, Ivicic, of course, gets to start over Clark. And, when I look on this play, I think that was a good no call, knowing the fact that I didn't really see a lot of contact that Ivicic basically put on Vera. And it feels like it was more like Mateus Vera trying to kind of embellish that and trying to maybe draw a penalty, but the referee was having none of it. But as the time winds down, the Dynamo thought that they maybe could hold on to this 2-1 advantage, while the Timbers were pushing for that late equalizer, and they would get the late equalizer. It's Ibovasi that scored from Abiella and Van Reken to tie the game up at 2 apiece, and that would be your final score of this game. As the Timbers, last year they were kind of on the receiving end of a team that always tends to blow late leads, but this is one of the rare times that they're actually on the opposite end of a team that of course was able to come back from a deficit and score a late goal to really cause the opposition being very frustrated, because they just let all 3 points slip out of the fingers at the last minute. But the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to the 14 that Houston has, 3 shots on goal compared to the 4 that Houston has, 10 shots off target compared to the 4 that Houston has, 6 shots out of blocked compared to the 3 that Portland has, and possession-wise, 50% each for both of these teams. And overall, the Portland Timbers are going to be the more happier side coming out of this game, especially getting a well-fought 2-2 draw and coming back from a 2-0 deficit. Well, the Dynamo, this kind of feel like a couple of years ago, where remember a couple of years ago when the Dynamo regularly blow 2-0 leads? Yeah, it's happening again in this one, and this has to be very infuriating that they did it again this season. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be Sporting KC and the Colorado Rapids, and honestly, this was kind of one of the more surprising results of the Wednesday night action. Not because of the fact that I wasn't expect Sporting KC to beat the Colorado Rapids, but it's because of how it was really relatively one-sided in this game. And with the way that the Rapids were red hot coming into this game, winning 5 out of 6, I didn't think that they would look very flat coming into this one. And I understand that Sporting KC probably are coming into this game with a chip in their shoulder and are probably angry after what happened on Saturday against the Timbers, but I didn't think that this was just going to be a one-sided affair, and that Sporting KC pretty much dominate throughout this game. And they kind of did so early in this game, where I wrote that they kind of controlled the game early. Russo did try to hit one from long range, but missed wide, but they would get the opening goal not long after that miss. It's Daniel Showery, who has had an incredible start to the season, scored from Johnny Russo and Jalen Lindsay to give Sporting KC a 1-0 lead. Amelia then denied Vines, as I thought that was really Colorado's first real chance in the 35th minute, and it would be one of the rare chances that they, of course, would get throughout this entire of this game. Before just 3 minutes later, Showery would score his second goal from Hernandez and Fontes to make it 2-0 in favor of Sporting KC, and I didn't think that was a good goal, and that I thought Yarbrough, Yarbrough, he did a great job in the last game against FC Cincinnati and make some big save, but this game, yeah, that one, I think he should have done much better, because, that shot from Showery was kind of hit right toward him, and he just kind of was late in terms of his reaction and basically let that one into the back of the net. But Sporting KC won't care, because they're up 2-0 up to that point, and that would be the scoreline heading into halftime. Now, in the second half, Showery did try to go for a hat-trick, but unfortunately he missed one before Lewis actually went through on goal, but he hits that one straight to Tim Melia. In the 63rd minute, it would be 3-0 in favor of Sporting KC, as Hernandez would score his first MLS goal from Daniel Showery. So not only the fact that Showery had a great night with a brace, but also get himself on the assist chart too. But also congratulations to Felipe Hernandez, of course, scoring his first MLS goal. And, judging with the way that he's been playing the last couple of games, I think he definitely deserved to finally score a goal, because he have looked lively on the attack, and finally he gets his first goal in this game to make it 3-0 in favor of SKC. Polito then hits it to the side netting after rounding Yarbrough, as SKC was looking for number 4 in this one. But Colorado did get one back, and it's Rosenberry that gets one back for the Rapids in the 84th minute. That was more kind of a consolation goal rather than a miraculous 3-0 comeback that the Rapids were about to encounter. And then the first minute of stoppage time, Polito did try to score a goal and restore that free goal advantage that SKC had, but unfortunately Yarbrough was able to deny him there. But nevertheless, Sporting KC able to comfortably walk out of this game with a 3-1 win against the Rapids. And the shots in this game, 14 shots compared to 9 that the Rapids had, 6 shots on goal compared to 3 that Colorado has, 5 shots off target compared to 6 that Sporting KC had, 1 shot that was blocked compared to 2 that Sporting KC had, and possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that the Rapids had in this game. And for the Rapids, this is probably one of the worst games that they play so far this season. Probably right near the second game of the season, when they of course play against Austin FC, and how they got embarrassed by Austin FC and losing 3-1 at home. But yeah, this one was almost right near up here, because for a team that has been just red hot in the last couple of games, I was really surprised that they really didn't had anything to show for, and just kind of got rolled over by Sporting KC in this game. And that yeah, I was expecting this game was going to be much tighter, and that the Rapids would at least show some fight back throughout this game. But now moving on into the next match is going to be Nashville and TFC. So, Nashville, I said throughout this season, this is probably one of the most resilient teams in the league, because this team, they just always tend to have that never say die mentality, even when they do face some adversity. But this really is the first time where not only the fact that they once again faced those adversity where they gave up goals when they were well on top, or gave up goals against the run of play, but they actually won this time. I mean, compared to the last couple of times when they were down 2-0 and have to face that adversity, they only got a draw out of this game. But this was the first time they actually got all 3 points in this one. But early on, I thought it was TFC that kind of had the big chance to get the opening goal, as Michael Bradley did put it high from long range in the 15th minute. Then Mukhtar on the other end tried to toe poke it in from close range, but unfortunately he missed one before Osorio tried to chip Willis, and he kind of got that one completely wrong when he tried to chip Willis there, and goes completely wide. But he eventually would make up for that bad miss by ending up on the score sheet and give TFC the opening goal of this game, as he scored from Aro and Delgado to give TFC a 1-0 lead. Quinton Westberg then denied Leao from long range, as Nashville was looking to try to equalize immediately. And I thought Quinton Westberg in this game, he definitely looked much better compared to the last one, and almost kind of looked like his old self, with some big save that he made in this one. One of those came in the 39th minute when he absolutely robbed CJ Sapon and basically tipped that one onto the post. Now, though that one did kind of tip onto the post, it actually ricocheted right back to Honorable Godoy, and I'm not sure if Godoy knew a lot about that, and maybe that is kind of the reason why he kind of puts that one wide, because he was right there to basically tap it into the empty net, but unfortunately he wasn't able to do so. And I'll just give the pass the fact that Godoy with that bad miss was all because of the fact that he probably knew nothing about it, and he didn't realize that when the ball bounced off the post, it would just came right back toward him. But you can definitely see that Nashville was pushing for the equalizer. Mukhtar was then robbed by Westberg right before halftime, and we had to halftime with TFC, despite Nashville's press late in the first half, up 1-0 against the hosts. Now, in the second half, Nashville continued to press for that tying goal, and they eventually would get that tying goal, as Jack Mayer would score his first MLS goal from Hani Mukhtar to give Nashville the equalizer that they've been long long deserved. And really, after this goal, you can really see Nashville was smelling blood, and that they want this second goal and get the lead for the first time this game. Lovitz then struck the post just 3 minutes later before Westberg once again robbing Mukhtar, who was one-on-one with the keeper. I mean, Hani Mukhtar was very unlucky to not get a goal in this game. And I would also say that there are also some chances that at the end of this game, he definitely will have trouble sleeping. And remember those big chances that he could have put all away, and probably would not get to a point where we'll talk about later where Nashville had to rely on a last-minute winner. But just as you thought that maybe Nashville was eventually going to get that second goal, TFC would score against the run of play. And it's Patrick Mullins, the one that scored against the run of plays from Michael Bradley to make it 2-1 in favor of Nashville. Now, if there's any team, this will really crumble a team where you've been by far the better team throughout the entire part of the game, and you basically concede a late goal to potentially drop all 3 points. But remember, this is Nashville. You know, for this team, I never count this team out, even if they do face some adversity, as they did with them giving up a goal that was completely against the run of plays. And it seems like that statement of me believing that they could come back came true, and it actually didn't take long for them to tie the game up again, as Luke Hawkinson would score his first MLS goal from CJ Sapon to make it get 2-2 in this one. And then with time winding down, it's Hawkinson again scoring his second MLS goal from Lovitz to make it 3-2 in favor of Nashville, and that would be the final score of this game, as again another crazy game in the last 15 minutes and in the last closing stage of this one. But in the end, it went in favor of the hosts, as the shots in this one, 15 shots compared to 9 that TFC had, 11 shots on goal compared to 4 that Toronto has. Both teams had 2 shots in off target, 2 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that TFC had. And I actually forgot to put the possession for both of these teams, but I'm assuming Nashville probably had more of the possession compared to TFC, especially with the way that they were really pressing against this TFC team ever since they of course went down 1-0 early in this one. But yeah, you know, for Nashville, they absolutely deserve all 3 points, albeit they kind of left it late a little bit. And for Toronto, there's definitely some concern right now. And I know I said earlier this season, it seems like this team is one of those teams that is really is going to be a team that can only function well and can actually do well if all of their starters and all their star player is in the starting 11. But I didn't really kind of take that seriously and just think that is actually going to be the case, because you can definitely see that if this team does not have some of their most important starters, or if not all their most important starter in the 11, they basically just crumble. And I really think the longer this go, there could maybe be some personnel changes, and you know, I'll probably even do a video in the future talking about who exactly is going to be a head coach that most likely is going to be the first one that is going to be fired this season. And I think Chris Armas will definitely be one of those head coach that I won't be surprised he could end up in the chopping block if this of course continue, because you know, the last time that TFC got off to this bad of a start was back in 2018 when they were in CCL. But I give them the pass in terms of that one, because at least they were in CCL and they had to juggle those two competition. This season, it's just them. You know, they did had some CCL commitment, but then they got eliminated from CCL, and ever since then, I was expecting maybe they can pick it up and start winning games, and that's just not been the case for this team that is really struggling to come out of the gate. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be the Sounders and RSL. And honestly, for RSL, I really feel bad for them in this game, because I thought they played a perfect road game in this one against the Sounders at Lumen's Field. But unfortunately, the Sounders, you know, there's a reason why this is the best team in the league right now, and there's a reason why they are the last unbeaten team in the league, because they can find any way to get a victory. And just as you think maybe they're going to drop points at home again, they somehow find a way to get all 3 points late in this one. Now, early in this game, there was a couple of half chances for the Sounders before Ruidíaz did try a long-range effort that goes straight to Ochoa. But I thought in the first 30 minutes, neither team really created much, and neither goalkeeper really was tested in the first 30 minutes. RSL did kind of start to get back into the game after I thought the Sounders kind of controlled the first 30 minutes and started to get some half chances. But then the 38th minute, Ochoa really got away with a mistake here where he, came off his lines and wasn't able to get to the ball. And anytime when your goalkeeper come off his lines and you don't get the ball, yeah, you are definitely in big trouble. But fortunately for him, Ruidíaz wasn't able to steer that one in. And yeah, Ochoa, I thought he was kind of shaky in this game. He's been shaky as the goalkeeper for RSL. But what's really interesting about David Ochoa this season is that despite the fact he's been shaky, most of the mistake that he's been making hasn't really been left punished by the opposition, which is kind of weird that is the case. And maybe in some way Ochoa is probably fortunate and feel like he's been having the good luck from the soccer gods of the fact that he hasn't been punished of some of the bad mistake he has made this season. But that being said, that's something he probably should not keep doing, because eventually his luck is going to run out where he's going to definitely get punished by some of these big mistakes that he made throughout this season. But we head to halftime, scoreless between both of these teams, and in the second half, you can definitely see the Sounders were looking to try to get the opening goal, and Shane O'Neill almost did that 2 minutes in, as he puts a header that goes inches wide. But eventually the Sounders would get the opening goal, and it's Christian Rodin that scores in the 57th minute to give the Sounders a 1-0 lead. Not long after that, O'Neill did once again try to put a header on target, but unfortunately it went wide. And really after that opening goal for the Sounders, I thought, yeah, this is when the Sounders are really going to put on the gas pedal and really put this game away. In the 62nd minute, Rodin did try to get his second goal, but missed wide on the header. And you can see the Sounders, they were hungry to trying to get that second goal. Now, RSL, to their credit, despite the fact that they know that they are going to have to ride out this storm that the Sounders were putting on them, Freddy Juarez actually decided to take some risks and actually decided to bring on one of their new acquisition this offseason, that is Bobby Wood, as he is summoned onto the game. And actually, I don't know why I said summon off the pitch. I meant summon off the bench in this one. And that's something I don't usually see with Freddy Juarez this season, where I feel like this season he's been a little bit conservative with his substitution. But in this game, you can definitely see that he's trying to take some risks and maybe can get an equalizer in this game. But then in the 75th minute, it looked like the Sounders put this game away when Ruidíaz basically scored the second goal, but unfortunately that goal was disallowed for a handball. So yeah, Raul Ruidíaz was trying to score another hand of God goal like he scored against Brazil, but keep in mind, back in 2016 in that Copa America Centenario, there was no VAR in that tournament. Now in 2021, there is VAR. Or in MLS. So unfortunately, when you're trying to score or a hand of God goal, it's just, you're not going to see that happen very often, especially with VAR being in play. And rightfully so, that goal of course was disallowed, and Ruidíaz even got a yellow card because of that, because it was pretty clear that he was intentionally trying to reenact that goal that he scored against Brazil in the Copa America Centenario, but this time that was not the case. But then 2 minutes later, a penalty was given to RSL after Stefan Cleveland trying to come off his lines, but unfortunately brought down Ruiz, which Rusnak was able to put away that penalty, and the game was all squared up at 1 apiece. And you're thinking maybe RSL can actually, as I said, they play a very good road game. They might actually get out of Lumen's Field with a point out of this game. But then in the 86th minute, there was a penalty that was given to the Sounders after Anderson Julio, who came on in this game, handballed it into the box, which Ruidíaz was able to put away that penalty to restore the lead for the Sounders. And yeah, the Sounders would hang on to that lead that they got late in this game as they went on to win 2-1 against RSL. And the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 4 that RSL has, 6 shots off on goal compared to 2 that RSL had, 2 shots off target compared to 6 that Seattle has, 4 shots that was blocked compared to none that RSL had. And possession-wise, the Sounders have the better position with 56% possession compared to 44% possession that RSL had. And again, for RSL, they play a good road game, but they just unable to come out with all 3 points because they gave away a late penalty. And for the Seattle Sounders, they continue to show why they are the best team in the league. And this is now another game where they have not conceded a goal in open play. And, I keep saying that eventually they're going to do it, but, we're now 9 games into the season, and, I don't know exactly what's the record in terms of a team not conceding an open play goal to begin the season, but I think the Sounders probably have that record because, it's been 9 games now that they have yet to concede an open play goal this season. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is this game. So the Whitecaps and the Galaxy play a game where in the beginning part of this game, it was an absolute snore fest. Like, you could literally watch this, you could literally miss like the first half of this game, and you probably wouldn't have missed anything because nothing actually happened. But then, as the second half goes, and the fact that the Whitecaps was kind of chasing the game and eventually got the equalizer, that's when things kind of just gone off the rails. And that stoppage time was probably one of the craziest stoppage time I've seen so far this season. But as I said, the first half, it was a relatively boring first half. The first real chance came in the 18th minute when Vasquez tried to hit one from long range but missed wide. The Galaxy did start to create some half chances, but really none of them kind of tested Crepeau, and really after that was kind of the last thing I wrote for the first half because it just kind of explains why the first half was just an absolute bore fest. But in the second half, just 2 minutes into the game, we got ourselves our first goal of this match as Chicharito would score from the Jet and Sasha Kleshton, and this was such a great team goal for LA Galaxy, who just kind of a tic-tac play kind of goal where Kleshton plays it to Leggett, and then Leggett plays it to Chicharito, who is in that perfect poacher role to basically tap it into the back net to give the Galaxy a 1-0 lead. But then the Whitecaps almost got the equalizer immediately after that goal, after Cavallini tried to tie it up immediately after that goal was scored, but unfortunately his weak shot that goes straight to Jonathan Bond. But that goal really chances kind of really woke up the Whitecaps, and this is when they started to really look to try to get the equalizer. Davy Caicedo then hits the side netting in the 68th minute as he went through on goal before Alexandre tried to head one high, but unfortunately he missed from the right before Godoy hits the post in the 79th minute, and you can definitely sense that the Whitecaps are getting closer to get that opening goal. And for the Galaxy, I'm not really think that this was good for them to just kind of hold on to this 1-0 lead. Like, I understand it's Vancouver and they have trouble in terms of goal scoring, but when you see some of these chances that they've been giving up, and knowing the fact that their defense is very vulnerable, a 1-0 lead to try to hang on for the end of the game is probably not something that they usually do very often. In fact, while Vancouver was pushing for the equalizer, I kind of just had a sense that the Galaxy wasn't going to hang on to this 1-0 lead. And that turns out to be the case, because in the first minute of stoppage time, Jamel Bikel would scores from Dahomey to tie the game up at 1 apiece for Vancouver. But just as you saw the Whitecaps got the equalizer and maybe they rescue a point, the Galaxy went on the other end and retook that lead. And it's Efrain Alvarez who scored an absolute golazo to make it 2-1 in favor of the Galaxy. Like, that was well hit from outside the range, kind of hit to the top bin where Crepeau just had no chance in terms of saving that. And yeah, I mean, that was just a huge momentum switch where it seems like the Galaxy was going to be left frustrated to only get a point out of this game to now on verge to get all 3 points again. But then on the other end, the Whitecaps almost equalize again. And it's Alexandre, the one that tried to put a header that Jonathan Bond, who really didn't have much to do in this game, he made an absolute incredible save to deny Alexandre and a chance for the Whitecaps to tie the game up. And in the end, the Galaxy were able to win 2-1 after just a crazy seesaw affair in stoppage time, where we could have easily saw 3 goals that was scored in that 6 minutes of stoppage time. But yeah, as I said, the Galaxy were able to win 2-1 in this game, and the shots in this one, 11 shots compared to 9 that the Galaxy had, 3 shots on goal compared to 2 that the Galaxy had. Both teams had 5 shots off target, 3 shots that was blocked for the 2 that the Galaxy had, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that Vancouver has in this game. And, for the Galaxy, it was not a perfect game, but they were able to walk out with all 3 points, and they definitely would like to thank Efrain Alvarez scoring that incredible goal for them to get all 3 points in this one. But for the Vancouver Whitecaps, that's now 5 straight losses that they have suffered. And there's no doubt that there are definitely some panic that is going on in the Whitecaps fan base. And again, you talk about a coach that is definitely on the hot seat. I won't be surprised if Marc Dos Santos is going to be on the hot seat the longer this losing streak and the longer this free fall that Vancouver is going through in these last couple of games. But now moving on into finally the last game that I'm going to be reviewing in this video. And if you made it this far, I want to thank your loyal support to my channel and also watching this video, because again, this is going to be a relatively long one, but we finally made it to near the finish line, as we're going to talk about the last game, which is LAFC versus FC Dallas, who, as I mentioned, coming into this game, this was a must-win for LAFC. Like, with how bad things have gone with this team to start the season and how much underachieving it's going on with this team, they desperately needed to get all 3 points against FC Dallas, and in the end, they were able to do so to win 2-0 against FC Dallas. And they actually got a quick goal to start this game, as in the 4th minute, Carlos Vela finally scored his first goal of the season from Atuesta to make it 1-0 in favor of LAFC. And you kind of also feel like that goal really not only took a lot of weight off of Vela's shoulder, because I'm pretty sure he knew coming into this game he has not scored a goal for this team, and it's just very uncharacteristic to see how Carlos Vela, who I know he's been on the IR a bit this season, but the fact that with this deep into the season and Vela hasn't scored a goal was definitely something I don't think a lot of people would have expected. But again, he finally got that goal, and you can see it seems like that weight really started to put off his shoulder, because he almost had a chance to make it number 2 in favor of LAFC and his 2nd goal of the season, but unfortunately the post denies him there, and then Cifuentes tried to hit one off of the ricochet, but unfortunately he puts that one high, and it was all LAFC in the first 15 minutes. Vela then tried to chip Maurer in the 24th minute, but unfortunately it goes high, before Farfan tried a long-range effort that goes wide in the 35th minute, and I also kind of felt like there was just too many wasteful chances for LAFC. I mean, this is something we've seen before this season, where there's just too many chances that LAFC wasn't able to take advantage, and it basically comes back to haunt them. And just 1 minute after I kind of wrote that, it almost looked like that was going to be true, because Hans had blazed one over just wide from close range before Moreno almost gave the equalizer for FC Dallas after he just completely misclears it, and that one almost went into his own net, but Sisiega was able to just parry that one away before it goes over the line. Before Jimmy Maurer would rob Cifuentes from long range. Jimmy Maurer, another great game in this one, and he really was the reason why Dallas was in this game as long as possible. Vela then tried to curl it wide from long range in the 45th minute, and unfortunately that one went wide. And despite the fact that LAFC were by far the better team in this first half, they still only had a 1-0 fragile lead heading into the second half. So we go to the second half, and Jimmy Maurer once again continued to stood on his heads and try to keep his team in this game as long as possible, as he robbed Cifuentes from long range, before he would deny Vela not once, but twice in the next 2 attacking sequence. And I also kind of once again wrote, are these missed chances going to come back to haunt LAFC? And the answer to that question is no, because they would eventually get that elusive second goal in the 69th minute, and it's Latif Blessing that scored from Carlos Vela to make it 2-0 in favor of LAFC. Now, this was a bit of a controversial goal, and remember how I said earlier in that game I reviewed between the Fire versus FC Cincinnati, where that goal that Beric basically scored, I feel like it should have counted, because you couldn't really see from the angle that is definitive evidence that goal should be overturned and it should be disallowed. Well, in this instant, originally that goal, of course, was was disallowed. And when they look on the replay again, you know, when the ball was coming into Vela, I couldn't tell whether or not if Vela was in an onside or in an offside position, and I just didn't think that had a definitive kind of evidence to say that this call should have been overturned and a goal should have been awarded to LAFC. But nevertheless, VAR decided to do so, and you know, I think Dallas fans will be kind of angry about that. But overall, I know Dallas fans will be angry about that, but really they weren't kind of in this game for majority part of it. And you know, I know some people, and especially some haters, will say that this is once again the league trying to help LAFC in terms of giving them a free goal because of a call that shouldn't be overturned because of indisputable evidence, and they're only just kind of helping them because they want to keep that headlines of them saying that they're the best team in the league. I mean, I don't think that's the case. I think overall, up to that point, LAFC really deserved that second goal, and albeit yes, it did kind of gone through a bit of a controversial way, they eventually did get that second goal to make it 2-0. But then 3 minutes later, Quignon did try the long-range effort that missed wide, and I actually finally get the right pronunciation of his name after I hear it a couple of times from the broadcast. By the way, the broadcast for this game was the LAFC feed, which was actually on Bally Sports. Now, what's interesting about this feed is that, you know how with a lot of these games that is on Bally Sports, it has that annoying kind of scoreboard that is in the bottom of the screen? Well, that's not the case for LAFC. They still kind of had the Fox Sports kind of scoreboard at the top left of the corner, so that's kind of weird to see that has happened, but I'm actually thankful that is the case, because again, a lot of people have been unhappy with some of the Bally Sports kind of coverage where the scoreboard is just kind of like right near the bottom of the screen, and it kind of blocks part of the action when that happened. But in the 77th minute, Mara did deny Rossi after Dallas really got away with a mistake in their own half before Mara would make one last incredible save, denying Janela in the 4th minute of stoppage time. And then right after he make that big save, the final whistle was blown, and LAFC were able to win 2-0 in this one. As the shots in this game, 19 shots compared to 13 that FC Dallas had, 8 shots on goal compared to 1 that FC Dallas had, 8 shots off target compared to 7 that FC Dallas had, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 5 that FC Dallas had, and possession-wise, 50% possession compared to 50% possession that FC Dallas also has in this game. And like I said, this was a much-needed win for LAFC, who desperately needed all 3 points of how things have gone so far for this season. And for FC Dallas, I mean, there's really not much I can say other than the fact that this was kind of expected with the way that they have just had a nightmare of a season right now and are still at the bottom of the Western Conference. But yeah, there you have it. We did it. We finally finished reviewing all 12 games from Wednesday action, and you know, hopefully in the future I probably won't do this as often, but again, you know, occasionally I have to kind of do this because, you know, I don't want to just split the review into one part and then of course do the second part after it, because what's the point of doing that if you can just do it in one take? But either way, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of these 6 games and also the other 6 games that was on the other board. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.